What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well with you. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you're excited because the Dallas Cowboys had a practice on Thursday, a bit of a normal practice. In case you weren't paying attention, yesterday was a practice, but it was a mock game is what Mike McCarthy called it, kind of a glorified walkthrough situation. But the pads were back on Thursday, so things kind of back to normal a little bit. The opportunities that the Cowboys can have consecutive days in pads are very limited. So the Cowboys being smart about that. Obviously, they have their joint practices coming up with both the Denver Broncos and the LA Chargers in the coming weeks, but they obviously have to kind of, be smart and be calculated about it. But nevertheless, back in action on Thursday, we have some one-on-one drills to go over. I think it's easy to say that the winner of the day was Jalen Tolbert, Dallas Cowboys rookie wide receiver, starting to really show up. In fact, let's kind of get to Jalen Tolbert. Let's talk about everybody else. Here's something from one-on-ones. Jalen Tolbert up against Jordan Lewis. I think we're going to hopefully start to see Tolbert start to separate himself just a little bit, and we all know that we definitely need it, what with the state of the wide receiver position being what it is. Yeah, I mean, Jordan Lewis is obviously having a great camp as well, and this is just one-on-one drill, so it's nothing to, I want to stress, we've been stressing all along as we've done these shows. By the way, if you're new around here, please do subscribe to the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. We have a live show every single afternoon. We have lots of other live shows, other videos coming out around here. It's officially football season. In fact, there's a football game on tonight, but we appreciate those of you that have joined us. We've gotten a lot of new subscribers as of late, and we're certainly welcoming anybody who wants to join us for this ride. But that being said, we've been stressing that, we shouldn't make any mountains out of these molehills. We shouldn't overreact. Positively or negatively, we can learn a lot of things. And I think we're learning that Jalen Tolbert took a little bit of time. And there's a little bit of, obviously, a learning curve in the NFL. But the opportunity is there. The opportunity is there for Jalen Tolbert to really thrive, to really flourish. But with the injury to James Washington, with Michael Gallup, obviously, on the PUP list. Speaking of, the Dallas Cowboys did activate Dontario Drummond from the PUP list during practice. So a new wide receiver did enter the fold. Let's go back to those one-on-one drills. We've got... we already went through Jalen Tolbert versus Jordan Lewis. Let's go CeeDee Lamb versus Jordan Lewis. This drill really belonged to the wide receivers on Thursday. No catch there, but still, an impressive bit of action from CeeDee Lamb. So no catch, anything to really write home about, but still awesome to see, awesome to just see the beginnings of. But that's CeeDee Lamb against Jordan Lewis. How is Trayvon Diggs doing? How is he handling these one-on-ones? How is he handling these pressures up against? Well, CeeDee Lamb is a talented wide receiver, but against everybody else, here's Simi fahoka, who we're also kind of maybe waiting to see if he's going to take a little bit of a step, working up against CB1.
Simi! Simi on Diggs. Let's go, Simi!
Okay, Simi. Okay, I was taking a sip of coffee right there while that highlight was playing. That's good to see. Like I said, if the Cowboys can get something, right, that's where we're at. We're all starving. We were super pumped. We congratulated Stephen Jones on bringing in Anthony Barr. The Cowboys still need to bring in somebody wide receiver, but even if they bring somebody in, they're still going to need these young players, these young guys to step up in their own right. So we've gone through CeeDee against Jordan. We've gone through Simi fahoka against Trayvon Diggs. We've gone through Jalen Tolbert against Jordan Lewis. Let's go CeeDee Lamb versus Trayvon Diggs. This is, you hear this all the time. They get to practice up against one another. They're going to make each other better forever and ever and ever. Same draft class. CeeDee against Trayvon.
Rush, it might have been career throwing the ball. It was just Cooper Rush. It was Cooper Rush. It was an underthrow.
Okay. All right. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to say. Making sure we're not missing anything, by the way, as practice winds down. No news of any kind, it seems, while we're on here live. Let's get that one more time. CeeDee Lamb against Trayvon Diggs. Good to see. And not that nobody's rooting for Trayvon. It's good to see CeeDee, winning this little one-on-one.
Rush, it might have been career throwing the ball. It was just Cooper Rush. It was Cooper Rush. It was an underthrow.
You can't make a whole lot of these one-on-one drills. Like I said, it's we're trying to confirm priors. We're trying to figure things out. We're not trying to really freak out one way or another. Last one-on-one before we keep moving on. It is Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott getting in some mix up here. We have a bit of a Zeke thing to get to, actually. Let's go ahead and see if I can get this tweet up here. This tweet comes from our friend. It's the wrong tweet. We'll come back here. From a friend of friend of our show, Voice of the Star on Twitter, Patrik Walker from DallasCowboys.com, tweeting out throughout practice. A couple of times today, the Cowboys used Ezekiel Elliott as the lead blocker for Tony Pollard. This is something that a lot of people have been wanting to see for a long time, obviously. Those two on the field at the same time would be a nightmare to scheme against. You never know who's getting the ball and in what capacity, or both could play decoy for a shot downfield. We've talked about this, like I said, forever. We've wanted to see this 21 personnel, get them both on the field. There's a contingent of people who say Tony Pollard, let him be RB1, he's better, whatever, blah, blah. I'm not going to sit here and say that Zeke isn't great, Zeke isn't good, Zeke doesn't have anything to contribute to the offense, because that would not be true. However, it is ridiculous to not use Tony Pollard. It's ridiculous that we're going on year 4 here and we haven't found the proper rate to utilize him, because he is a very dynamic playmaker. I'm not even saying you have to use Zeke Elliott as the lead blocker for Tony Pollard. But if you want to, by all means, Zeke is a very physical runner with or without the football in his hand. Here is a clip of that happening, and if this were to happen on the regular, I think we'd all be pretty pleased by it. Good to see the Cowboys mixing it up a little bit, getting things a little bit crafty and creative in the run game. Let's play that one more time. I think I don't know if it's just my internet that had an issue, but this is Zeke Elliott blocking for Tony Pollard. Zeke has long prided himself on his offensive lineman skills all the way back to Ohio State. So if we can see this, like I said, thrive throughout the season, we'd all be very happy about it. Another note from Patrik Walker, our great friend, on the subject of the run game. Turpin, obviously talking about Turpin, the newest member of the Dallas. Well, I can't even say newest anymore because of Anthony Barr. One of the newest members of the Dallas Cowboys. Turpin took a handoff out of the backfield as a halfback, and Patrik noted it was a big gainer. Obviously, Turpin is one of the fastest players alive, apparently, and we're starting to see that on display kind of on a consecutive and consistent basis. And so, originally, obviously, Turpin comes in, and this is like last week. This isn't even that long ago, and the initial preliminary word is he's going to help out on returns. He's going to be this team's primary returner, USFL MVP, the whole nine, right? And now Turpin's getting in the mix, and I know that we talked about, it's a bit of a throwback name for some people, but Lucky Whitehead, Lance Dunbar, those are the names and the kind of players that come to mind as far as how Turpin could potentially be utilized offensively. Lucky Whitehead was a legitimate, dynamic returner for the Cowboys, besides the occasional cup of coffee, which I have with me, on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know. I don't know that the injury to James Washington has exacerbated this issue and has forced the Cowboys to maybe experiment a little bit more with Turpin. But whatever the case may be, he's obviously an incredibly gifted athlete, an incredibly quick and agile athlete. And so if you can use him, if you can incorporate him in that way, by all means, I would love to see that. I think we would all love to see that. Let's get some Dak Prescott highlights up in here. Here's Dak Prescott, Dalton Schultz. I think, it was Dave Helman, Fox Sports, who tweeted out a few days ago that Dalton Schultz is going to catch like 100 balls this year. I think we're going to see this connection over and over and over and over. And over and over and over. It's going to be Dak to Dalton, Dak to Dalton, Dak to Dalton for 4, Dak to Dalton for 6, Dak to Dalton for 18, Dak to Dalton for 4 again. Dalton Schultz is the second most reliable pass catcher in the Dallas Cowboys offense right now. Not that James Washington was higher than him in the priority list, but there's no question that Dak's going to have to lean on the likes of CeeDee Lamb or Dalton Schultz, and even himself, Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott got on the move today. Dak Prescott was running. He was using those wheels, and we love to see that. We have this next highlight for you. Not because it's a highlight, but as we make sure again nothing's happening here. But because it has to be seen. All right, this is this was something that happened. It's really the only way I can say this. Cooper Rush. There are a few people talking about, I think, whether or not Cooper Rush is safe in his spot as the QB2 on the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know how much I agree with that yet, but it is at the very least possible that Will Grier supersedes him or supplants him as the primary backup quarterback on the Dallas Cowboys. And Cooper Rush is not doing himself any kind of favors. This is a throwaway, to be fair to Cooper Rush, but let's just play it because it's quite the thing. I've seen a lot of Dallas Cowboys practices out on the field in Oxnard, California. That has happened. I mean, it's never not happened. But if you recall, that was actually a game that Dak Prescott and Jason Garrett used to play with each other, was to try to hit the star. It was actually the other side of the setup there. Cooper Rush, again, throwing this ball away. Dude, what? Just how? What? Not great. Not great at all. This is going to be a very important preseason, I think, for Cooper Rush. He started a game, obviously, last year for the Cowboys, won that game to his credit. Good for him. Good for the Cowboys. Bad luck for the Vikings and Mike Zimmer and Kirk Cousins. But I don't know that that's enough. He hasn't exactly played well as of late throughout 8 training camp practices. And so just be on the watch. This team might not know who its backup quarterback is. This team definitely does not know who its kicker is. The kicking situation has been one that's been in flux for a little while here. Lately, the Cowboys have started practice with some kicking sessions and then gotten into the mojo moments. Mike McCarthy said again on Thursday that would be the case. So let's kind of go through it progressively. This tweet coming by way of the Dallas Morning News is Michael Gehlken. All right, Cowboys rookie kicker Jonathan Garibay took 2 attempts at 33, 39, 42, and 49 yards. That's 2 at each. He converted 1 at each distance to finish 4 of 8. So literally made one, missed one. Made one of them, missed the other. Lareem Hairulahu made his first 7 before going wide left from 49 from the right hash. So, it's kind of a tough angle. Dude, what? This cannot be happening. Jonathan Garibay, I don't want to relitigate or just, kind of trash the Cowboys or trash this process, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. Greg Zuerlein was literally the worst kicker in the NFL last year from an extra point conversion percentage standpoint. Literally the worst. There was not a worse kicker in the NFL among kickers who qualified last season who was worse at converting extra points than Greg Zuerlein. Not field goals, extra points. We're talking about Lareem missing from 49 off the right hash. No, this is just like your standard cup of coffee, extra points. And Greg Zuerlein was literally the worst kicker in the NFL at those last year. So, okay, we are not going to stand for that anymore. We have to have a plan. We have to have a way. We have to get better. We have to improve. What did the Cowboys do? Well, they cut Greg Zuerlein, and they toyed around with bringing him back. Not exactly a good idea. And then they didn't sign anybody. And then they didn't draft anybody. And then they signed an undrafted free agent after the draft in Jonathan Garibay, and they put all those chips in that basket. And then, like 5 minutes before training camp, they brought Lareem Hairulahu back, who's now looking like the better kicker. And cool, you found somebody who looks better than Jonathan Garibay, but he was not on your team until right before you left for camp. So there's something wrong with this process here, is my point. And Jonathan Garibay just isn't exactly isn't having it right now, and it just is not. It's not a good thing. He did improve for what it's worth. Fox Sports' Dave Helman tweeted out that as the Cowboys began the mojo moments and whatnot, I'll just read you Dave's tweet and then kind of, let you know. The coaches tortured Garibay, were Helman's words, that, connected from 41, but the defense iced him. He hit it from 41 again, but the offensive line was hit for false start, missed from 46, but the defensive line was hit for offside. He connected again from 41 to go 3 for 4 overall. The point here, what happened on Thursday out on the practice field in Oxnard, California, during the team's mojo moments, the Cowboys sort of, playfully created situations, and I love that. If I'm being honest with you, I love that. I don't know why teams don't do stuff like this, like microscopic things that would make a difference. For example, if my team was going to be wearing white jerseys, I would have them practice in white jerseys, right? Like practice the way you're going to play. I'm not trying to be like old man, get off my lawn or anything, but like that kind of stuff makes sense to me. And so I love that. I love saying, oh, you know what, timeout right here, Jonathan. You know, you can't kick right now. Oh, there was a penalty on your offensive line or your line up front blocking for this field goal. We got to do it again. Got to move 5 yards back. Oh, there was an offsides. Got to move 5 yards up. I love that. I love keeping him on his toes. I love that because those are the kinds of things that are going to happen in real life. And obviously, Jonathan Garibay has not had a successful training camp to this point. So if you can, you know, if the more weirdness and variables and, you know, other sort of factors and circumstances that you can throw at him that he's going to see throughout the rigors of an NFL game, I think that is very, very wise. And so, again, you know, we put this back up here. He handled it fairly well, so good for him. Maybe he just needs the pressure in order to connect and in order for things to be going well. But for what it's worth, the Cowboys did the same exact thing to Lareem Hairulahu, as Dave notes here, and, you know, going through the simulations and whatnot, and that he went 3 for 3 from 41, 41, and 46 yards. I don't think it is a stretch to say that Lareem Hairulahu has the lead right now in the Cowboys department as far as being the preferred kicker of the team. And I don't think that's enough. I don't think that you can go about things that way. I don't know that you can trust Lareem Hairulahu to just, hey, you know, come in here, we'll be fine. This is not I know that people roll their eyes and people get so upset. People say, why do you care so much? It's just a kicker, blah, blah, blah. It's just a kicker, but it is one of the few positions on the field that is responsible for scoring points for you. The Cowboys played, does anybody know? I don't know if you know, but the Cowboys played 9 games last year that came down to one possession. One possession, I mean, including the playoff loss to the 49ers. And so if you're playing that's more than half, right? Or that's actually half, I guess, if you talk about 18 games. So half of their games came down to one possession. The margin of error is that thin. So I have no idea why you would be comfortable playing with points and living on the edge like that. It just is not the right way to go about things. I do not support that. I do not endorse that. And so I hope the Cowboys find a way to you know, look, we've been saying this for a while. Linebacker was definitely a position of need. It was not as large of a need as wide receiver, tackle, or kicker, but those positions are all still positions of need, and the Cowboys would do well to address them, you know, before the regular season starts. But hey, you know, those are just facts and data. Couple of notes with regards to Thursday's practice. There was no Leighton Vander Esch. He reportedly missed it due to a family matter. There was no Jabril Cox. Mike McCarthy said on Thursday before practice even began that Anthony Barr, and everybody has questions, where's Anthony Barr, what numbers he's going to wear, whatever. There was no Anthony Barr because he was still going through the medical process, so that's why he didn't practice. No Jabril Cox. Mike McCarthy said they're just being smart. There's no reason to freak out, no reason to panic, so hopefully you trust him. And they are, at least Jabril Cox and Leighton Vander Esch are both expected to return on Saturday. On the subject of Anthony Barr and his jersey number, I wanted to look this up, actually. I'm going to do it right now while we're live. I'm heading to the official Dallas Cowboys website's roster to see if they don't have Anthony Barr on the team yet. I mean, obviously things are still technically happening, so they don't have a jersey number listed for him, so we'll see. Like I said, they did activate Dontario Drummond from the PUP list, not that impacts their roster or anything like that, but we will see what number Anthony Barr ultimately winds up with. Obviously, he can't have 55. I know a lot of people had those questions because of Leighton Vander Esch and whatnot, but just looking at things here, 50's taken, 52, 53, 54, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I think 51, actually Devontae Bond, who's on the reserve list right now, has 51. So maybe we see like a 90s number for Anthony Barr. I actually don't know what Anthony Barr wore in college either off the top of my head. He wore 11, which is taken. So it's going to be interesting. Needless to say, everyone's kind of holding their breath to see what number Anthony Barr winds up wearing with the Dallas Cowboys. But all told, as we kind of tie a bow on this here, I think that the winner of practice so far, at least of Thursday's practice, was Jalen Tolbert. I mean, if you can get Jalen Tolbert, right now we talked about that, right? Wide receiver is in need, kickers in need, tackles in need. If you can start finding answers on your team, at those positions, it helps your roster, obviously, and that's what we're rooting for. You know, that's common sense. But when you think about it, of those 3 positions, the most likely one on the Cowboys for talent to rise, for the cream to rise to the top, is a wide receiver. Because no disrespect to Josh Ball, but I mean, I don't know that any of us are necessarily counting on him or banking on him to just all of a sudden start acting and performing and playing like a legitimate swing tackle or a legitimate tackle in general. And kicker, we've seen the options. We just discussed all the options at kicker. So the biggest, kind of surprise that isn't a surprise that could show up and impress us is Jalen Tolbert. And the fact that he had such a good day, let's get this one-on-one up on the screen again. This is Jalen Tolbert up against Jon Lewis. Jalen Tolbert, like I said, had himself quite the day. So that's the one-on-one. That's Tolbert against Jon Lewis. But Tolbert also had some great moments in team drills. Let's get this up here. This is, I'm not saying like, hey, watch out, rookie of the year or anything like this. But this is what we want to be seeing right now in the early days of August. We need it bad. We need Jalen Tolbert to arrive. I know that some of you actually arrived later. We played the Tolbert-Lewis one-on-one. Let's go through a few of these one more time, just because they are important, obviously. That was Jalen Tolbert against Jon Lewis. Let's do CeeDee Lamb up against Jon Lewis. It was definitely a day, as let's see, where is this tweet here? I know we had this ready. As ESPN's Todd Archer noted, it was a day that the receivers want. Simi Fahoka, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott, all connected with Dak Prescott on downfield throws, which is good to see. Didn't mention Jalen Tolbert here, but he obviously had some success, as we just saw. Here is Simi Fahoka against Trayvon Diggs. I'm not saying like this means, whoa, watch out, Simi's coming, he burned Trayvon Diggs. But if we will anything right now, right now, the bar is low. And so for Simi Fahoka to beat Trayvon Diggs at all is a very positive sign at this particular moment.
Simi on Diggs. Let's go, Simi!
Just a little underthrown, just a little bit, but that's okay. That's all right. We're all good. No big deal. JG26_Jet. I think we had an issue with the comments, by the way. I think that all of a sudden the comments populated from, so I'm not exactly certain what happened early on. If you were commenting earlier in the stream, I do think our platform had an issue and was hiding them for whatever reason. But JG26JDog says Diggs got burned badly. That's okay. Alex Storm says any positive at wide receiver now is good. We'll take it. That's exactly what I'm saying. The bar is low. I mean, like, this is, and I feel this way kind of when it comes to the NFL season opener, right? Tonight is the beginning of the preseason with the Jaguars and the Raiders and the Hall of Fame game, which the Cowboys were playing in a year ago. That was a lot of fun. But when it comes to the regular season opener, it's why I never think that the Cowboys are J-Dog. I'll just call you J-Dog. That's noted for the future. But I've always thought, like, why does the NFL give us the most intense game in week one? Even this year, Rams-Bills, this is an amazing game. We don't need that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not upset about it, but if I was the NFL, I would save Rams-Bills, right? Like, you got to consider we are starving for football content right now, right? Like, we're starving for football games. So you don't have to give us filet mignon, you know what I mean? Just give us a couple of crackers, some Ritz crackers and some Nutella, some peanut butter, some what's the cheese, you know what I'm talking about? Give us some Ritz crackers and that, and like that's the most delicious meal we've had. Give us, we're gonna watch the crap out of Raiders Jaguars tonight. I mean, that's just the way it goes. So you don't have to serve us up something amazing. And a similar sort of mindset is how I feel, or what I have with regards to the wide receiver position. I don't need to be seeing these one-handed catches. TJ Vasher, I love you, respect. That was awesome last week, but I don't need that. Right now, I just got to see you making some catches, getting in the end zone, beating a couple corners. I don't need to be seeing the most amazing things. Right now, we are starving for some help at wide receiver, so if you can come in, you can help us out just a little bit. Oh, thank you, the Orion Files. It's called Cheese Whiz. Thank you. I don't know how I felt. That slipped my mind. Jennifer Yelvington, I kind of feel like by the end of camp, Simi will be a starter. I think that's a little bit wishful thinking. You know what I will say is I thought that Simi was on the outs. I didn't know how he was going to make the roster in general, just because it felt like, we'll say a month ago, if we had to pick 5 Cowboys receivers, and maybe they'll carry 6, but and we're talking about just guys to make the roster, right? And then they can IR people and whatnot. But it would have been CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, James Washington, Jalen Tolbert, and there was a lot of chatter even then about TJ Vasher, and who could forget Noah Brown. So that's 6 right there. So I thought Simi Fahoka was in a tough spot with regards to making the roster. Now, he might not still. He might be an initial 53-man roster cut and somebody they just bring back. That wasn't possible a year ago because everybody was concerned about him getting poached or whatever. But I just don't. I mean, I think he's definitely. My point is, I think he's definitely on this roster week 1. How he gets there is maybe a little bit creative. But I don't know that I think he's a starter. So we'll see. Let's see. J-Dog says, who's pumped for tonight? Finally, NFL action. Look, this is going to be a great night, all right, in the Ochoa household, all right? The wife and I, we got some pulled pork leftovers. We got Big Brother. We got Astros Guardians, and we got Raiders Jaguars. Great night to be in my house. Super pumped about it. J-Dog also says, I was big on Fahoka last year. I think he could be a 5 or a 6 easy. They clearly liked him last year. Super athletic dude. I mean, his athletic profile, people forget this. He literally athletically compared to DK Metcalf when he was entering the draft last year out of Stanford. I mean, so there's no denying he has the physical tools, and he didn't have a lot of opportunities. He had 7 offensive snaps last year, and so we need to see it. I mean, the preseason is looking like it's going to be more important. I played this already, but the comments weren't working, so I have to play it again. It's just like an obligatory thing. The preseason, let's get into this subject right now. The preseason, let me type this out here on the screen. The preseason is going to be important for, and we'll put a little blank there. Preseason is going to be important for, I would love to hear your thoughts, which players you think need to have a big preseason for the Dallas Cowboys. I would put Simi Fahoka in that mix. There was a question about Dennis Houston. No real pop yet. Although, I mean, Dennis Houston is popping a lot, at least a lot more than I think people thought he might so far overall throughout camp. Just not a big day on Thursday. Thursday was just like the Jalen Tolbert show. So you could put Dennis Houston in that mix too, right? We're talking Simi Fahoka, Dennis Houston, TJ Vasher. That's a lot of wide receivers. You could argue maybe Jake Ferguson at tight end. The Orion file says Tristan Hill. I think Tristan, I mean, I go back and forth. I could see him being safe, but I think I agree with this ultimately. J-Dog says Garibay. Yeah, Garibay, I mean, goodness gracious. I think, and I'm going to say this now, and I would appreciate it if people remind me, maybe if I remind myself, we need to temper our expectations after the first preseason game because it is against the Denver Broncos. And the altitude is a factor, so we won't be able to get a proper read on either kicker. We need to come down from the mountains. We can't, totally bank off of that. But another player I said I was going to play this again, who the preseason will be massive for, is Cooper Rush. I mean, Will Grier is playing very well through the limited action that these 8 practices have shown us, and certainly playing like he can contend with Cooper for the QB2 position in Dallas, especially when Cooper's doing stuff like this. Obviously a little bit of a joke there, but yeah, I mean, I think Cooper Rush has to have a big time preseason. I don't know that there are any running backs on the team that have to have kind of a big showing out. I don't know that there are any linebackers. Like maybe you feel like Luke Gifford maybe has to a little bit with Anthony Barr on the team now, but I still don't feel that way. Really ultimately, it's just, this roster is pretty set. There aren't a lot of positions that are really up for grabs. You can argue that QB2 is actually one of the biggest position roster battles going on right now. Alex Storm says Garibay needs to just start making kicks. He can worry about having a big whatever later. I agree. He is in, it's hard to trust him right now, and that's tough. This is the bed the Cowboys chose to make, and now we all have to lie in it. But hopefully things turn around for Jonathan Garibay in the future. But that is kind of this was the one highlight we didn't get to play. We haven't heard that much. I mean, there's been pop with different players and stuff, and that's not to say that players who aren't popping or being discussed aren't having solid camps as well. DeMarcus Lawrence up against Terrence Steele. I think both players are having successful camps. They're just not the sexy ones that other players are having. But this was D-Law, getting the win, which is good to see. We're going to need to see more of that from DeMarcus Lawrence. We want to see that a lot. I hope you're not somebody, whoever you are, that is not a believer in DeMarcus Lawrence. Don't worry about the sack stuff. He's going to be fine. It's all good. I promise. My name is RJ Ochoa. You know me from Blogging the Boys, all throughout the Blogging the Boys universe. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa, on TikTok at rj.ochoa. If you want to send me an email, you can, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com, or you can leave me a comment down below. We'll get to those also. We do this every day, in case you're new around here. We jump on every single weekday afternoon. We talk about the Cowboys, a live show. We discuss. We go back and forth. Sometimes we celebrate. We hug. Sometimes we cry it out. You know, just whatever has to happen on that particular day. We'll be doing it every single day throughout the season. We're excited to share it with you. If you can't watch it live, hey, no big deal. If you can catch it on the rewatch, it's up to you. You know, whatever you want to do. If you can subscribe to the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel, that would be cool. That would make me happy if you haven't done so already. But that about does it for Thursday's show. Today was August 4th, 2022. My bets. I don't have any bets. This isn't like a betting segment, but I will take the Jaguars tonight because it's a super riveting game that we're on deck for. I will take the Astros over the Guardians, obviously. And I don't want to spoil Big Brother for anybody, but I think the person that we all think is going to be evicted is going to be evicted. So that does it for Thursday. I hope you all have wonderful days. I can't wait to see you tomorrow on Friday. And Alex Storm says, I came in late, RJ, our newest wide receiver, turning any heads. There was no real action today. Let's just put a bookmark in this, Alex. We'll come back as the weekend unfolds. I'm sure we'll get some more answers there. But yeah, so thanks for hanging out, everybody. We'll see you next time. We love you all.